Heartwarming story revealed. How one black CEO's hidden deal transformed a company in 24 hours. Marcus Johnson stood in his Chicago office, anxiously drumming his fingers on the desk. Outside, the city buzzed around him, a living tapestry of triumphs and struggles. Inside, his startup clung to life as if hanging by a fraying thread. Anxiety churned in his gut. He'd built this from nothing, every line of code a leap of faith, every late night a token of resilience. But now, with grim news arriving daily, he feared he wouldn't be able to keep the family he'd created, the single parents, the veterans, afloat much longer. Marcus, the voice trembled on the other end of the line. It was his production manager, now out of work, fear heavy in every word. I can't hold on much longer. I'm about to lose everything. His heart sank. This wasn't just business. These were lives woven into his dream, people who'd fought battles he could hardly fathom. In that moment, he recalled his mother's warm smile, her lessons echoing in his mind. Resilience. Hope. The unwavering belief that they could forge their own destinies. Out of the darkness of doubt, an idea flickered. An opportunity, like a whisper on the wind. Maybe, just maybe, this could be the break they needed. The investors he'd approached had turned cold with their skepticism, tainted by biases he'd faced his entire life. He felt the weight of their judgment. It lingered like smoke in the air. Before he could brood too long, a call from his father disrupted his thoughts. Son, this is a tough market. Maybe you should consider selling. Just a quick cash influx to ease the pressure, Dad, he countered. I want to create something real, something that matters. As he hung up, frustration bubbled inside him. The echo of whispered doubts haunted him. But there were whispers of his competitor, a corporate rival thriving on unethical practices that left a sour taste. Could he expose them? Or was that just another slippery slope? That's when Marcus decided. He would host a community gathering, inviting local business owners who understood the grind, the burden of raising a family while chasing dreams. They rallied around him, their belief reigniting the spark he thought was dwindling. Their solidarity was electric, filling his chest with warmth and hope. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Exhaustion crept in as the meeting crescendoed. A boardroom that felt more like a battlefield awaited him, a confrontation against the biases that had shadowed him all his life. But what Marcus held was more than just a business. It was a legacy born from love, his mother's lessons withering under prejudiced assumptions. As the moment of truth neared, the silence was deafening. Would he break free from the chains that bound him, or succumb to the weight of the world? The outcome loomed like a storm cloud, swirling with uncertainty. The moment hung in the air as if whispering there was more at stake than just dollars and cents. The fight for dignity, for hope, for a chance to rise above, to transform everything clung to the edges of his heart, ready to explode. Marcus closed his eyes for a moment, grounding himself in the rhythm of his heartbeat. Each thud echoed the lives at stake, each pulse a reminder of what he was fighting for. Just when it felt like the world might collapse in on him, the doors swung open, and in walked the members of the community he had invited. A mix of familiar faces and new ones filled the room, bringing with them a sense of unity he'd yearned for. Marcus, one of the local shop owners, a woman who owned a bakery just down the street, smiled. We're here for you. We believe in what you're building. As they took their seats, he could feel their energy swell. Each voice around the table began to contribute their stories, their struggles, their dreams, and their hopes. They didn't just share their own battles. They tied every experience back to a common thread: resilience. Together, we are stronger, Marcus said, eyebrows furrowed with determination. But we need to show everyone that our worth can't just be measured in profits. It's measured in people. The conversation shifted from casual support to strategizing action. They began to map out a plan to not only save his startup but to form a cooperative network that could empower all of their businesses. What started as a simple meeting began to take on the aura of a burgeoning movement. Hope flourished in the air. Around the table, ideas sparked like fireworks. They talked about cross-promotions, support systems, and even shared resources. Only minutes into the brainstorming session, Marcus noticed that the tension in his chest began to ease. The tides were turning, he could feel it. Together, they could create a ripple effect that would resonate through the community, and beyond. As they exchanged contact information and made plans for the following weeks, a wave of gratitude washed over him. Here were people ready to stand by him, even when the world felt poised to push him down. It was a tapestry of strength being woven, a promise of tomorrow crafted by hands that understood struggle. But as the meeting wound down, a shadow of doubt crept back. Would others outside this circle understand the power of their unity? He knew what they were up against. Systemic barriers weren't easily dismantled. As each business owner left with renewed motivation, he couldn't shake the feeling that while they had ignited a spark today, the storm ahead could snuff it out just as quickly. Marcus lingered behind, staring at the now empty chairs. That's when he remembered the whispers about his competitor, the unethical practices that thrived in the darkness. The thought was a bitter pill to swallow. Could he stand tall against an entity that thrived on deceit? Did he have the moral fortitude to expose it without tarnishing his reputation? In that moment, Marcus wrestled with a critical decision: to lean into the fear and fight, or to remain quiet. The possibility of galvanizing other voices against wrongdoing felt both exhilarating and terrifying. It could lift them all, or it could plunge him deeper into chaos. With that thought in mind, he picked up his phone and scrolled through contacts. He had friends in the media, allies willing to listen. If he pursued this path, it would be an uphill battle, but it could also spark a revolution that others like him so desperately needed. As he prepared to make the call, the weight of the world lingering in his heart intensified. Would he unleash the storm or become swept away by it? The decision loomed above him like a guardian angel and a devil on each shoulder, both whispering competing narratives. In the silence that followed, he took a deep breath and pressed dial. But would this be the dawn of change or the end of everything he had built? The phone rang, each beat counting down the seconds that felt like hours. Marcus's heart raced with uncertainty. What was he really about to do? For a moment, he considered tossing his phone down, erasing the connection he was about to spark. But just as quickly as that doubt appeared, the faces of his community swirled in his mind, their hopes, their struggles, their belief in him. "Simon, Marcus," he muttered, gripping the phone tighter. "You've got this." The voice on the other end finally answered, a friend from his college days. "Hey, Marcus. What's up?" "Hey, Tara. I need your help," he said, his voice trembling slightly. There was no turning back now. He plunged right in, explaining the corrupt practices of his competitor, the impact it had on the community, and the potential for something greater. "Wow, that's heavy," she replied, surprise lacing her tone. "You're sure about this? Honestly?" "No. But I can't stay silent," Marcus admitted. "If we don't speak up, who will?" Tara paused, the silence pressing against the walls like the weight of 1,000 decisions. "Okay. Let us set up an interview. I can dig deeper, but you need to be ready for the backlash." Marcus took a deep breath, accepting the weight of her words. "I know. I've prepared myself for that." As he hung up, a mixture of adrenaline and dread surged through him. He had set the wheels in motion but had no idea of the force he had just unleashed. What if this only made things worse? What if they targeted the community instead? He shook his head to clear his thoughts, standing up from the chair. The meeting had filled him with purpose, and now it felt as if he was back in that storm. He glanced around the empty room, seeing the shadows of the business owners who had just left. "Together, we are stronger," he whispered, echoing the resilience that had filled the atmosphere just hours prior. The next day, Marcus received a call from Tara. "I've got some news. You should come down to the station. It's time to run the story." His stomach tightened. "Is it ready?" "Yes. But I want you there for the live segment. He gulped. Live? The world would see him, hear him. What if he didn't convey everything he wanted to say? All his fears started bubbling back up. But looking back at the tapestries of strength woven by his community, he couldn't back down now. Before he could second-guess himself, he nodded, even though nobody could see him. I'll be there. His heart pounded as he prepared for the segment. He pulled on his jacket, the fabric feeling like armor against the doubts that threatened to overwhelm him. As he glanced in the mirror, the man staring back was determined but scared, a mix of confidence and anxiety. Once at the station, the bright lights and bustling crew intensified his nerves, but the sight of Tara was reassuring. She smiled and nodded, as if sensing his turmoil. You're going to do great, she said, her hand resting on his shoulder. When the camera was set, Marcus took a deep breath, remembering those empty chairs and the reflection of hope they embodied. Welcome to the show. Today, we have a special guest, Marcus Green, a local entrepreneur with a powerful message. The host announced. It was now or never. The moment he'd been waiting for collided with the fear he had been battling. Would this be a breakthrough, or a fallout? The lights, the cameras, and the world were watching. As he began to speak, every word felt like a declaration of defiance. But amid his nerves, he could hear whispers. Doubtful voices echoed in his mind, reminding him of everything he stood to lose. And yet, as he looked straight into the lens, he knew he was standing not just for himself, but for the community that had gathered around him. Their dreams rested on the edge of this moment. People need to know, he spoke with urgency, a new fire igniting within him. This isn't just about business, it's about trust and respect in our community. But as he spoke, he couldn't shake the feeling that challenges awaited him, lurking just beyond this moment. What would happen once this truth was out? What? Consequences would come crashing down like waves? The thought pulsed in his mind. The stirring of change could either uplift or unravel everything he held dear. The camera crew was shifting in the background, and Marcus could feel the tension growing as he continued to speak. The host, a sharp-looking woman with an engaging smile, nodded encouragingly while he bared his soul. The pressure of the moment intensified, squeezing his heart like a vice. Outside the studio, he could almost sense the breath of the city, holding it in anticipation. Corruption has a ripple effect, he stated, passion seeping through each word. It affects families, neighbors, entire communities. We can't just sit back and let it happen. The studio audience stirred, murmurs echoing around him. Were they buying it? Did they believe he could be the voice of change? He felt the weight of their expectations, pressing down on him. Did you ever think about what was at stake for you? The host prompted, her gaze serious. How this could impact your business, your family? He hesitated, recalling his fear of retaliation, the whispers behind closed doors. The cutting critique from the other side felt personal, a stain on his hard-earned reputation. But now, when he glanced down at the camera, he saw not just a lens, but reflections of all the supporters who had rallied around him. It ignited a flicker of bravery deep inside him. It's not just my business at risk, he replied, his voice steadying. This affects the whole ecosystem. If we allow practices that hurt our community, we doom ourselves. I wouldn't stand by while that happens. There was a moment of silence, pregnant with possibilities. He could feel a shift, a change in the room. Some of the audience leaned in, captivated by his words. Others nodded, their eyes shining with hope. Was it working? Was this what empowerment felt like? As he closed with a promise of accountability and integrity, he could barely breathe. Let us make our business practices reflect our values. Together, we can take a stand. The applause erupted like a wave crashing against the shore, and he felt its rush. Tara approached him after the segment, her eyes bright with pride. You did it, Marcus. You were incredible. The adrenaline coursing through him was intoxicating, and yet, beneath it lay an unsettling current of anxiety. What would happen when the story broke? How would his competitor retaliate? Would the people he cared about be swept up in the storm? On his drive home, the weight of uncertainty hung heavy in the air. He turned the radio down and let his thoughts linger. He thought of the faces of local families, the unfinished dreams, the things he had fought for. As each mile passed, he felt like he was standing at the edge of a cliff, staring into the abyss. When he finally arrived home, the house was quiet. He stepped inside, his heart still pounding from the segment. He needed to process it all. He pulled out his phone, wanting to check for messages of support, but delayed as he recalled the storm brewing just on the periphery of this newfound victory. Then, a notification flashed on the screen, a message from an unknown number. As he opened it, his pulse quickened. "We need to talk. What you've done cannot go unanswered." What did that mean? The implications twisted in his gut. Fear clawed at him, but alongside it, a fire sparked. He had stirred the pot, and now he had to be ready for whatever came next. Marcus silently knew he wouldn't just let this go. The tide had turned, and with it came the realization that this was just the dawn of a fight far bigger than he had ever imagined. Would he be able to protect those he loved? What was the price of standing up for what is right? As he stared at the ominous message, the night felt darker. He understood the battle might only just be beginning. Marcus stared at his phone, the glow of the screen illuminating his features, and for a moment, the world around him faded into a blur. What have I done? The question echoed in his mind. He dropped the phone onto the table, feeling the weight of the decision he had made. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows of his modest home. He could almost hear the murmurs of the city still buzzing with his words. Was he really ready for whatever came next? Would they come after him? His chest tightened at the thought, but he pushed the fear aside. He had to keep moving forward. "Marcus?" Tara's voice broke through the tension, and he turned to find her standing in the doorway. Concern etched on her face, she stepped inside. "You okay?" He forced a smile, though it felt heavy. "Yeah, just a lot to think about." She stepped closer, searching his eyes. "I saw your segment. You were amazing. People need to hear that." "Do you really think so?" Doubt knotted in his stomach. "What if I've put us all in danger? What if they retaliate?" Tara placed a reassuring hand on his arm. "Sometimes, change demands courage. You sparked a conversation, Marcus. You can't let fear overshadow that." He nodded, appreciating her unwavering support. Her faith in him felt like a lifeline, but the message still loomed large in his mind. "I just got a text from someone they want to talk. It feels threatening." A flicker of concern crossed her expression. "Who? Do you know?" "No idea. Just an unknown number." He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "I thought opening up would feel liberating, but now it feels like I'm standing at the edge of a volcano about to erupt." Tara stepped closer, wrapping her arms around him. "Whatever happens, we'll face it together. You're not alone in this." The warmth of her embrace ignited a flicker of hope. "Thank you. I really need that right now." As they pulled apart, Marcus caught a glimpse of the fear in her eyes. It was a reflection of the uncertainty he felt inside. "We could go back to the way things were, you know," he offered, his voice barely above a whisper. "Do I really want to risk everything?" "No," she said firmly, a steady determination flooding her tone. "You've come too far. You owe it to yourself, to the people who believe in you, to see this through." Marcus took a deep breath, recalling the faces of those families he sought to protect. The weight of his decision grew heavy, yet he understood the urgency. He had to act before the unknown forces pushed back. "I need to figure out who sent that message," he decided, resolve growing within him. "I want to meet them head on." Tara's eyebrows knitted together. "Are you sure that's wise? What if it escalates?" "Maybe. But I can't let fear dictate my life anymore. I'll call the number back tomorrow. I have to know what they want." The night stretched on, filled with questions hanging in the air. As sleep eluded him, a new drive took root. He might be standing on the brink, but sometimes, change required a plunge into the unknown. Would he find allies or more enemies? Ultimately, Marcus realized that the real battle was not just about his company, but about everything he stood for. With newfound clarity, he pictured the lives he could impact, the legacy he could build. As dawn broke, the faintest glimpse of hope filled the room. But as he prepared to face whatever tomorrow held, one question loomed in his mind: how far was he willing to go to fight for what was right? Tomorrow was just the beginning, and he knew he had to be ready. The sun slipped over the horizon, casting soft rays through the window, but Marcus felt a tremor of anxiety deep within him. Today was the day he'd call that unknown number. He glanced at Tara, still asleep with her hair tumbling across the pillow. The peacefulness on her face soothed his racing heart, if only for a moment. He knew he couldn't let her wake up to a storm. Marcus tiptoed out of the bedroom, into the kitchen where he poured a cup of coffee. The steam curled upward, filling the air with a rich aroma, yet it did little to ease his swirling thoughts. Sipping slowly, he braced himself for what lay ahead. His phone buzzed again on the table, a reminder that the world wouldn't wait. The message was just a faint echo of yesterday's uncertainty, but the countdown had begun. In a few hours, everything could change. He pulled up the contact number and stared at it, the digits blurring in his vision. "Here goes nothing," he murmured, fingers shaking as he hit the call button. The ringing felt like an eternity, each second stretching longer than the last. "Hello?" A deep voice answered, cutting through the growing tension. Hi. This is Marcus." His throat felt dry, and he cleared it. "I received a text from this number. I'm calling back." There was a brief pause before the voice responded. "Glad you did. Who are you?" Marcus pressed, the question tasting like metal on his tongue. "Let's just say I have a vested interest in the truth you're trying to unveil. There are forces at play here, Marcus. Powerful ones." His chest tightened. "What kind of forces?" In the ensuing silence, Marcus's mind raced. Was this a threat? A warning? "You need to understand," the voice continued, "that what you're doing can change lives. But not everyone wants that change. There are people out there who will stop at nothing to maintain the status quo." His heart raced at the realization that he was in over his head. "Then what do you suggest I do?" "There's a larger network behind you than you might realize," the voice replied. "Meet me today at the old train station at noon. I can help." "Why should I trust you?" "I'll send you proof." The line went dead, leaving Marcus staring at his phone, uncertainty gnawing at him. He took a shaky breath, glancing out the kitchen window. The world outside seemed unchanged, but inside, he felt another shift. Tara walked in, sleep still heavy in her eyes. "Who was that?" "No one important," he lied, forcing a smile. She stepped closer, studying him. "You're not convinced, are you? This is a big deal." "I know," he said, taking her hands in his. "But I have to follow through. It's what I started. I can't back down now." Tara bit her lip, concern flickering in her eyes. "Just promise me you'll be careful. This isn't just about you anymore." He nodded, guilt flashing through him. "I will, I promise." As the clock ticked down to noon, patience turned to tension. Images of the potential meeting flooded his mind, each one more chilling than the last. What if this was leading him into a trap? But then again, what if this was the support he desperately needed? Sipping the last of his coffee, Marcus could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on him. "I can't go back, can I?" he whispered, half to himself. Tara caught his gaze, searching his expression, and squeezed his hand. "Whatever you decide, I'll be right here." He swallowed hard, knowing that stepping into the unknown could either be a defining moment or a catastrophic mistake. As he prepared to leave, fear settled in his stomach like lead, but determination burned ever brighter. The old train station loomed in the distance as he drove. Each mile felt heavier, filled with possibility and dread. What awaited him in the shadows? As Marcus approached the meeting point, apprehension swirled in the warm summer air. Would the truth he sought empower him or engulf him? He parked and stepped out, ready to face whatever was to come. The ticking clock of fate was louder now than ever, echoing in his ears with each step. When he turned the corner, a figure emerged from the shadows. The moment of truth loomed near, Would it be the light he sought or the darkness that threatened to swallow him whole? The figure stepped closer, and Marcus squinted against the light filtering through the dusty windows of the old station. The man was tall, dressed in a dark jacket that seemed to absorb the sun rather than reflect it. Dark sunglasses shielded his eyes, making him look more like a spy than a savior. The air between them crackled with palpable tension. "Marcus," the man greeted, his voice still deep but softer now. "I'm glad you came." He extended a hand, gesturing for Marcus to join him near the train tracks. Marcus took a step forward, fighting a swirl of emotions. "You're the one who called me?" he asked, his voice steadier than he felt. "There's a lot we need to discuss." The man glanced around, as if checking for eavesdroppers. "But first, I need to know what you really want to dig into." Marcus took a deep breath. "I want the truth about what is really happening. About the company, and the person I thought I knew. Ah, the heart of the matter." The man leaned in closer, taking off his sunglasses. His eyes were sharp, piercing through the fog of uncertainty that clouded Marcus's mind. "You might not like what you find. Aren't you supposed to guide me through this?" Marcus protested, frustration bubbling within him. "Guidance has its limits. You need to understand that the truth you're chasing can have consequences." Marcus felt anger rise, clenching his fists. "I'm not afraid of consequences. I need to know what is going on. For myself. For my family." A lump formed in his throat as Tara's concerned face flashed before him. The man studied him for a moment, then sighed, relenting. "All right. But first I need to show you something." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small flash drive. "This contains information you'll need. But it's just the beginning. What you find on this could break open something big." Marcus's heartbeat quickened. "What are we talking about?" "Let us just say, it involves some high-stakes players in your industry. People you trust, and those you never expected." A shiver ran down Marcus's spine. He imagined faces, friends, colleagues twisted in revelation and deceit. "Can't you just tell me?" He shifted his weight, feeling uneasy as an unsettling feeling settled in the pit of his stomach. "It's better if you see it with your own eyes. The truth sometimes needs context, and context needs you to be ready." Marcus hesitated but took the flash drive, its weight heavy in his palm. "I don't know if I am ready." "Then do you want to know, or not?" The man countered sharply, fixing him with a gaze that felt like it could slice through the growing haze of doubt. "I need to know," Marcus breathed, feeling the urgency swell within him. "Good," the man said, stepping back. "Meet me here tomorrow at the same time. Bring someone you trust. You'll need backup." "Backup?" Marcus frowned. "Trust me, Marcus. You're playing with fire, and I can't guarantee your safety alone." With that, the man turned and walked away, disappearing into the shadows, leaving Marcus alone with the pulse of the ticking clock reverberating in his ears. Standing there, clutching the flash drive, doubt crept back in. What had he just signed up for? He couldn't return to Tara empty-handed, not now that she had put her faith in him. As he headed back to his car, the sun dipped lower in the sky, shadows stretching and deepening with each step. It wasn't just about uncovering the truth anymore. Marcus was now caught in a web that could ensnare everyone he cared about. The ride home dragged, each minute feeling like an eternity. He needed answers, but that voice haunted him. Would the truth empower him or destroy everything he built? When he finally walked through the front door, he found Tara waiting, eyes bright but searching. "What happened?" she asked, the concern etched on her face. "Tomorrow," he said softly, unable to reveal everything just yet. "Tomorrow, I'll know more." But inside, dread began to seep into his thoughts. What would the truth reveal? And were they ready to handle it together? Tomorrow loomed ahead, a question mark that might change everything. Marcus barely slept that night. He tossed and turned, the flash drive weighing heavily on his mind, thoughts racing in a chaotic loop. He replayed every conversation he'd had with Tara, every meeting at the office, and each interaction with his colleagues. How could it have come to this? What did it all mean? Morning broke with a dull light, its soft glow a stark contrast to the tempest brewing within him. He needed to be strong, for Tara, for himself. Today would be the day he unwrapped the mystery, and as he got dressed, he made a silent promise to protect those he loved, no matter what the truth revealed. After a quick breakfast, he found Tara in their cozy kitchen, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She poured coffee, eyes flicking toward him, searching for hints of his thoughts. Marcus paused, heart racing, before he spoke. "Tara, I think I might be onto something," he began, trying to keep his tone light, but the weight of uncertainty lurked beneath his words. Her brow furrowed. "What do you mean? Something about work?" "Yeah, something like that." He glanced towards the clock. "I've got to meet someone later. He has information about the company." "Important information." Tara's expression shifted from concern to resolve. "You need to be careful, Marcus." "I trust you, but I know," he interjected, his heart dipping into a pit of worry. "But I have to do this. I need to know." Silence enveloped them, the sound of the brewing coffee filling the space between them. He watched as Tara leaned against the counter, her shoulders sagging slightly. She was going through her own trials, but today wasn't the day for either of them to show weakness. After they exchanged a few more words of comfort, Marcus kissed her forehead and stepped outside. The morning air hit him like a cold splash. His car was parked under a maple tree, leaves rustling softly, but his thoughts were anything but calm. The drive to the old train station felt longer than ever. He kept glancing in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see shadows following him. Paranoia crept in, wrapping around his chest like a vice. When he finally arrived, the station looked more desolate than before, the sun's rays now casting eerie shadows between the cracks in the pavement. He parked and scanned the area, eyes darting toward every movement. But no one was there yet. Waiting felt torturous. He tapped his fingers against his thighs, counting the seconds that dragged by as if they were hours. Where was the man? Did he know about the risks involved? Then he saw someone approaching, a figure in a familiar dark jacket. As he got closer, Marcus noted the flicker of something urgent in the man's expression. Behind him, another silhouette emerged, and it sent a jolt through Marcus. "Who's that?" he asked, eyes narrowing. "My backup," the man replied, stepping aside to reveal a woman dressed in a tailored suit. She looked every bit composed but had an intensity in her gaze that mirrored Marcus's own apprehension. "She'll help you," the man said without further explanation. Marcus nodded, a mix of anxiety and curiosity flooding through him. "What's this about?" The man took a deep breath, his expression serious. "Let us not waste time. You need to see what's south on that flash drive, and the sooner the better." Suddenly, Marcus's heart raced again, the implications of the unknown setting off alarms in his head. "What will I find?" The woman stepped forward. "The truth can be terrifying, but ignoring it could be worse. Are you ready?" With Tara's face flashing in his mind, full of faith and trust, he nodded. As they moved toward a hidden corner of the station, the stakes turned palpable. Would this be the revelation he sought? Or something more? The door of discovery creaked open, and Marcus took his first step inside, not knowing whether this path would uncover his salvation or his ruin. What awaited him beyond those walls would test everything he believed about work, trust, and the very fabric of his life. The door swung open, revealing a dimly lit room cluttered with outdated furniture and stacks of papers. The smell of dust mingled with the stale air hung in the corners. Marcus hesitated for a moment, taking in the sight of the woman and her companion before stepping inside. It felt as if he was entering another world, one filled with secrets and unanswered questions. "Why here?" he asked, trying to shake off the feeling of unease settling in his gut. "Because it's better this way," the woman replied, her voice firm. "Less chance of unwanted eyes. We have to be discreet." Marcus followed them to a round table in the center of the room. The man had already pulled out a laptop, its screen lighting up with a familiar interface. "This flash drive contains information that goes farther than just your company," he said, his gaze locked onto Marcus. "It has evidence that could change everything." With trembling hands, Marcus handed over the flash drive, heart racing. The woman inserted it carefully into the laptop, her fingers moving swiftly across the keyboard. The whir of the drive connected filled the silence, broken only by the slight clicking of keys. As files began to load, Marcus felt the weight of every second ticking by. What kind of secrets were hidden in the depths of this device? Would it implicate people he admired? Or would it break apart everything he built? Look closely, the woman instructed without glancing up. This isn't just about you. It's much bigger. Marcus swallowed hard, focusing on the screen as a list of documents revealed themselves. The title of the first file stopped him cold. Unethical Practices in Financial Reporting. His breath caught. Wait, he stammered, staring at the words. This can't be right. It's right, the man chimed in. These documents show discrepancies in the books, high-level cover-ups. It's a web of deceit that runs deep, Marcus. They've deceived everyone. As each new file opened, Marcus's heart sank further. Names of colleagues flashed across the screen, people he trusted, people he had fought alongside. The implications were staggering, and anger surged within him. Why am I seeing this? What's your stake in this? The woman paused, letting the gravity of the situation settle. Because we want you to decide what to do with the truth. It's your call to expose it or keep quiet. A storm of emotions swirled inside Marcus. Could he really handle this? The weight of knowing threatened to crush him. But if I go public, what will happen to Tara? To me? That's a risk we all take when we step into the light, she said softly but firmly. You can't be afraid of losing everything right after you've found the truth. He felt a knot in his stomach. Could he betray those he'd worked with? The people who had rallied around him? Yet keeping quiet was just as much of a betrayal to himself and Tara. The tension in the room intensified as visuals of documents and emails piled up on the screen. He had moments to decide. What do you want from me? He asked, desperation creeping into his tone. The man leaned forward, urgency in his voice. We need you to act, Marcus. You have the credibility and the connections. You can change this company for the better. A flicker of doubt gnawed at him, but deeper inside, he felt something weaker but resilient awakening. Could this be his chance to reshape everything? Marcus hesitated, the weight of the world on his shoulders. The door to consequence was now wide open, and the path ahead was fraught with danger. Could he truly bear the burden of the truth? Or would it consume him entirely? As he sat there, wrestling with his decision, the laptop hummed with dark revelations. Time slipped away, and he knew he had to choose his next steps carefully. The fate of everyone around him hung in the balance. Would he step into the darkness to seek justice, or would he turn back, asking himself whether ignorance was truly bliss? With that thought lingering in the air, the next moment would alter not just his fate, but the fate of Tara and many more. What was he willing to sacrifice for the truth? The room felt heavy with silence, as if the universe waited with bated breath. Marcus stared at the screen, at the damning evidence laid out before him. Each document spoke of betrayal, a systematic rot that had nestled into the core of his once beloved company. The weight of it all felt crushing. Marcus, the woman said softly, breaking the spell. You have a choice to make. You can use this information to ignite change, or you can choose silence. But remember, silence protects the guilty. He shifted in his seat, his mind racing. Tara emerged in his thoughts, her trusting eyes pleading for a future. What if I expose this? He finally asked, his breath coming in shaky bursts. What happens to everyone I care about? What if retaliation comes my way? The man leaned forward, intensity smoldering in his gaze. That's the risk. But imagine this, you won't just save yourself, you could create a safeguard for everyone affected by the corruption. Show them they can have faith in a business that stands for integrity. His heart beat faster. Could he be the catalyst for that change? A figure who turned whispers of worry into a chorus of hope? But doubt loomed large. Would he really place himself at the crossroads of power and peril? Could he endure the fallout that could chase him for standing up for what was right? Every great change comes with a price, the woman added. Your decision impacts more lives than you realize. Marcus sifted through memories of the community he had stirred, a patchwork of strong spirits bound by love and resilience. I can't let them down, he murmured, realization washing over him. This wasn't just about him. It was about a collective awakening. I'll do it, he said, the words spilling forth with newfound clarity. I'll expose the truth. Good choice, the man nodded, a hint of pride in his expression. But we need to act fast and with precision. We'll create a plan to ensure not just your safety, but that of your community too. A sense of determination swept through him, igniting a fire he thought had long since flickered out. What do you need me to do? We'll gather allies, the woman said with a firm resolve. You can create a network that supports the reach of this information. Back it with the experiences of those who suffered under deceitful practices. It's crucial to ground everything in community. With every word, fear shifted its weight to excitement, a pulse of action that resonated deeply within him. Let us do this, he affirmed, his voice steady and finally clear. They spent hours forging connections, strategizing how to unveil the dark underbelly of an empire built on lies. They plotted outreach emails sent, calls made, all with the aim of rallying those who had been touched by the company's toxic practices and enlisting their voices in a united stand. And as the plans unfolded, Marcus envisioned the community, powerful families standing tall against shadows of conspiracy. When they stood together, how could the truth not rise? After what felt like a lifetime spent in urgent preparation, the time came. The day was bright, the sun casting a golden glow over the lives they were about to impact. The weight of the flash drive felt lighter now, the burden of secrecy exchanged for the weight of action. With his phone lit up with notifications of support and solidarity, Marcus felt buoyed. There was an energy swirling around him, a collective faith in a cause that stretched beyond himself. As he walked out of that dim room into the sunlight, each step felt like a declaration he was here to dismantle the status quo, to unveil the truth that had lain silent for far too long. Tara was waiting for him, a smile gracing her face, seemingly unfazed by the storm brewing behind the surface of his calm. You ready? She inquired, and just then, he realized they were in it together. More than ever, he grinned, a radiant smile unfurling at the corners of his mouth. Let us change the narrative. Together, they stepped into the light, hearts aligned. Today wasn't just about the truth, it was a celebration of their community, their perseverance, and their vision for a brighter future. The world watched as Marcus Johnson, once a fragile dreamer, now a resolute warrior, embraced his role as the voice for justice, igniting ripples of hope throughout a city that desperately needed it. And though he couldn't see every ripple, he knew that together they could become waves, capable of breaking down walls and ushering in change. With every act of courage, he carved a path toward a new legacy, one where transparency, trust, and resilience stood as pillars of strength. The moment of transformation was here. The fight had indeed just begun, but together, they were more than ready to face it. And as the sunlight bathed them in warmth, he knew one thing for sure: this was just the beginning, and the world had to witness it. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure more great content reaches people like you. Share your thoughts and feelings about this gripping ending in the comments. Your voice matters. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful transformation. Together, we can spark a revolution.